This is the third in a series of recordings taken from the recent How to Keep Your Members Through the Current Crisis webinar delivered to Herefordshire and Worcestershire community organisations and sports clubs. Delivered by Liz Birkinshaw, an independent learning development professional, it practically goes through a cycle of change, a trans-theoretical model, exploring the different stages that members may be finding themselves during this lockdown period, and considers how to support and plan a member returning or encouraging them back in the future. Here's more from Liz.
There will be people within your clubs, your current members, and when I say members, I'm thinking, yes, they are the people who play at your club, but they might also be the wider club community, so your volunteers, your coaches, the people who, I don't know, they might help in your tea rooms during match days, etc. All of those people who are part of your community. When I say members, I mean all of those people, not just the people who are taking part. If we consider at the moment, everyone is trying to adapt to a new situation, which means we're all trying to have lots of new behaviours. And one of the ways we can think about behaviours and maybe plan for our members and to help make that as smooth as possible and getting to new behaviours as easily as possible is to consider something called the trans-theoretical model, which I know the slide's been up for a little bit, or easier to say, cycle of change. So there's a couple of stages within this model, which is really pertinent. And if we're talking about current members, we're already talking about members who have engaged with your club. So they're not unfamiliar to you. So I'm not going to focus too much on talking about people who you might be wanting to attract to your club. However, I will say, by doing some of the different things that we're going to propose during this session, you may actually attract new members as well, but we're going to focus on current members. So you may have some members, we normally start at the not ready stage. There's another, pre-contemplation is another one if you're familiar with those, but I use these a little bit more. Well, they're easier to fit on the screen in my little diagram, but they're also a little bit easier for me to say during presentation. So people who are not ready. So you might have some members who have been active, and as soon as COVID has come along, they are completely, I can't take part in my sport, my activity, I can't engage with what I normally do, and they've shut down. So for them, they are not ready and they have no intention of changing their behaviour until everything gets back to what they consider to be normal. So they're going to wait out the COVID challenge, okay? You may have some of your members, and you might recognise some of these people who are getting ready. They stopped initially and they might have been messaging you on social media, asking about what's going to happen, what's coming up. They might be aware of some of the being more active at home messages that Bron referenced from the Chief Medical Officer. Everyone loves a bit of Chris Whitty, don't they? We love him, he's fabulous. But they haven't started doing anything yet. You then may have some people who are ready, so their intentions to do something and they're making preparations. It might be for your club and your sport or your activity that they're trying to get hold of equipment or adaptions for that equipment. So for me, the club that I have, for example, an old conditioner bottle that I filled up with sand and with water because I need it as a weight, a heavy weight. I could only get it to 3.5 kilos, but that's good enough for the time being. You may have some members who are doing it. They're still taking part in activities, either directly with your club because you've got something running already, or that are linked to what they would normally do. So they've made some decisions, they're choosing a bit of a strategy of how they're going to do it, and they're doing it. So they're your existing members who are keeping the activity habits, probably with a bit of a sport, what your club is about themed to it. So this group could be looking to you as their COVID-19 choice of activity because movement is restricted. So it might be that maybe your governing body has been offering some stuff online, whether it's to do with strength and conditioning, whether it's skill development, tactical development, etc. They might be following along a program with that. Maybe even you or your clubs have set something up like that already, which I'm going to ask about in a little bit. You'll get a chance to share those. What we're aiming for during this period is to have people who are still doing it. We're looking at the still doing it stage. So they're active members, they're still continuing to engage with you in whatever your offer might be, whether that's an offer for them being active, whether that's an offer for keeping in touch and being social. So that group of people are having sustained remote online physical activity depending on your sport, they may have already started actually to come back to your club. So if you're a golf club, and I didn't catch everybody on the chat of where you're from, but if you're a golf club, that might be something that you are already getting people who are really getting stuck in already. And then the stopped, lapsed and restarted. That is to note that probably most people had a bit of a pause when COVID happened, because your clubs shut, everything stopped. There was a bit of a pause, and that some of those reasons for pausing isn't just because you weren't open as a club. So there may have been people who have been ill. Maybe their caring duties for children or older people or wider family and friends has taken up the time they'd normally have. So the home life is getting in the way. The key thing to remember is, when we're talking about behaviour and adapting and evolving behaviours and trying to get a bit of a habit, it is actually quite normal, and it's very common to have a lapse, to stop for some reason. So the lapse that most people had all at once is quite uncommon through COVID. However, the behaviour of restarting is actually quite common as well, if that makes sense. So it's something that your members will be doing. So what we're looking for, talking about current members, we're hopefully trying to engage the getting readies, the readies and the doing it's and still doing it's. So not too bothered about the not readies yet, people who maybe haven't engaged with us and are focusing on other things at this time.